to the Random Real Estate Show, where the mics are hot and the opinions are hotter. We're a show about random things and occasionally some real estate. If you like to listen, you can find us wherever you download your podcasts. If you like to watch, you can find us on Facebook or YouTube under Houston's Home Connection Team. And if you want to participate, you can always email us at justask@houstonshomeconnection.com. Leave us a comment, and we will get back to that at some point in the future. Today we'll be discussing Christmas, car repair, and home repair. We're going to introduce a whole new segment, and of course we'll talk about whatever pops into our little heads. Buckle up. It's the Random Real Estate Show. So this morning I woke up. So last night I had we did our annual board elections at my HOA, and we've talked about HOAs before on here, and mine is just kind of in a particular situation. So we expected it to be a little heated, and it didn't get heated, but it did go long. And so then afterwards I was up late texting and talking to people, and didn't have to get up to go to the gym today because it's our off day with my son. And so when I did wake up, or a little later than I normally would, because normally I'm up at 5:15. So I woke up a lot later than I normally would with an off day. My good friend Josh had been trying to text me to see if I could come pick him up at the car repair shop. And I didn't make it. I abandoned him.
No, you didn't make it. They had to shuttle me off to work, but so it would be. I mean, I don't know. When I hear a text, I usually wake up. So you must be on silent or zonked.
I leave it on silent. And I think I'd even left it because I'd been texting with people like till, I don't know, midnight or 1 a.m. Like, did you see what happened? Did they freak out? Well, we had some winners, we had some losers, and there was a chance the losers were gonna make a scene, and they didn't. But we still talked about it for a while.
Mind you, everybody that's listening, Tom was up texting everybody about his HOA and their newly elected officials to the board, which was a pretty hot topic. Hot topic there.
It was highly contested, and it's a long story, and it's a fascinating research in just humans and how they interact, if nothing else. But we got through it, and I did leave my phone, I think, in the other room or something. But yeah, I don't have it. It's not on noise at all, so I didn't hear it, and I think I even missed a couple of phone calls from people, but. I made it, got here. We're ready to rock and roll, but it did bring up that topic of why you were actually at the car place.
Yeah, car places are auto mechanics, and I'm not going to say the name because they usually treat me pretty well, but it's the same dog and pony show every time you go. You go for a simple oil change, which back in the day, it seemed like it cost me $25-$30. Now it seems that you can drop $80-$90 pretty easily on an oil change, but it's just, you dread that time when they call your name and say that you're done, because you're going to have to go through now a spiel of what is wrong with your car.
Right.
And there's not one thing on there that's less than $100.
Yeah.
So I had a little corrosion on my battery cables, which is scary if you drink Coca-Cola, but you can just take some Coca-Cola and pour it on there, and that acid from the Coca-Cola will clean that thing right up.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted $45 to do that.
That's
an
expensive Coke.
That was only on one terminal. So I said no to that. They wanted to change my air filter, which is literally 5 bolts, and that's a $10 part on AutoZone. That was going to be $150. And then to plug in the computer into my car to find out why the check engine light was on, that was $115. And I go to a place that's pretty reputable and pretty reasonable, so, I can pretty much look them in the eye and give them that look like, okay, we're done. We're not going to be talking about any more repairs. But just for some of those folks out there that go to these slimy little auto mechanics and they get you for this, that, and the other, at least I can trust that these things are wrong with my car. But it's made these days to where you cannot fix a thing on the car yourself. Like back in the day, I would either see one of my neighbors or somebody out there changing their oil. And even when I moved to Houston, I changed my own oil on our SUV up until a couple of years ago. And then it just got to be not able to do anymore. But I don't know. Going to the auto mechanic it's not a place I like to spend a lot of time.
Well, I know, like I had, I'm not mechanically inclined that way. I never have. I grew up with guys who would love to tear their car down over the weekend and have it running again by school. When I was in high school, and I was never that guy. But I did always enjoy when I learned something. Like I learned how to change a fuel pump out one time. Mine went out. A guy helped me, and so then I knew it, right? So then I changed a couple fuel pumps for other people because I knew that. Now you look in there, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. It no longer resembles a motor or the inside of a engine compartment anymore, and so I think that's why they go, well, that's why it costs so much because but it's crazy when you go, okay, if you're going to remove 5 bolts and pull it out, come on. I understand if you have to dig deep in the bowels of that crazy looking thing that's in the front of my car, but to remove 5 bolts and put a filter in for $150, now we're getting off the beaten path. So
yeah, boy,
I think they get you. I think sometimes they go like, well, nothing's wrong. We really need to spend money, so we're gonna charge you anyway.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. In life, you pay for what something is worth, and since I cannot work on my own car, I do have to pay somebody to do that. And kudos to the folks who know how to do that. But when I look at an engine, it looks like 10 pounds of dog do in a 5-pound bag. You know what I mean? Everything's so tight, you got to take the engine out to get to something underneath.
It feels that way, yeah.
And it's just not conducive to the normal man or woman to work on cars anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure there's people who go, oh, I do it. More power to you.
Yeah.
But I think they probably, if you ask, what do you do for a living? Oh, I work at the car repair place. But I'm not paying their prices. I do it myself. So
yeah. So while I'm sitting there, just wondering if I'll get a ride anywhere, and I eventually did get a shuttle.
I was tired.
So they gave me a shuttle up to work. So I'm good. We're in December 4th. We're in the Christmas season now, and Black Friday had just happened. Thanksgiving just passed. Black Friday happened, and I was surprised for the better that there wasn't as many drag them out brawls for TVs or appliances or what have you.
Right.
But where have we lost the moral compass of? I know we've lost it in society, but have we lost it for the Christmas spirit? And not to go back to the religious side of things.
Exactly.
I just like the. So here's a quote from Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey can be a little bit out there, but this one, no holiday should manipulate you to the point where going in debt just to show somebody that you love them. And we just know that is the case where the people do really fall into a trap. I'll say this. I'm not the most outgoing person that shows affection or love, so when I do give a gift that I do appreciate giving gifts because it shows that I care, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm thankful that I have a wife and kids who, for the most part, seem genuinely excited to receive anything. And it doesn't have to be the most expensive thing. Obviously, when they're younger, size over, quantity over quality is a big thing. Now I think they've understood the quality is better than quantity. But I don't know. I just don't know if Christmas is there like it used to be.
Well, so the example to go back to that is another commercial. There's a couple of commercials on where, the husband goes out and says, look what I bought us. Matching, vehicles.
Yeah.
And it's like, guess what I just did? I just went and got a whole bunch of debt. And I didn't ask you first. Welcome to the rest of our lives paying these off. So, I know those are commercials. Speaking of which, have you heard anything about this Peloton thing?
I have, and I can speak to that when you're done on that. But
I will say this: when I first saw that particular commercial, I didn't think it was weird in the way people are talking about it, but I thought it was weird. I'm like, okay, there's this stick thin woman, and she's spending a year getting more. I mean, I guess she's staying in shape, but it just didn't ring with me. I was looking for more. I mean, I'm sure it's hard to find somebody who says, "Hey, we're gonna film you at a heavy weight, and we need you to lose it fast to show you." I understand, what they're up against, but I don't know. It didn't ring the right way with me, but not in some sort of sexist or controlling, domineering husband way as is going on. I just thought it was not the best message.
Actually, I had no issue with it at
Did you
all
not?
because I didn't think it was necessarily about the weight loss. And I'll just say this: if I got my wife a Peloton bike for Christmas, she'd be thoroughly ecstatic.
You're right, and I know that
Thoroughly
about your
ecstatic.
wife. And so I just don't think the lady that did it pulled off the right emotion of.
Maybe the commercial wasn't done well enough, but I took it as, like, honey, we got this Peloton bike. It not only helps with weight loss, but it helps with stress. It helps with the reduction of anxiety. You feel good about yourself. Your confidence is stronger. There's many more things to working out than losing weight.
But it goes.
And I don't think the guy was.
I don't either.
I know I'm sitting here arguing with you about a commercial, which is ridiculous. But
It's not. We're not the only ones. I watched at least 3 shows this week where this is the topic.
yeah, I know it's.
And so it's not ridiculous as much as it goes back to what we're talking about. What brought it about? It was a Christmas present. It's this thing. Like that's even that was not something that used to be the Christmas present. It was something more meaningful. Like, hey, I'm getting you something from the heart, not, hey, I bought you new piece of exercise equipment. Unless your wife's been begging for that. Your wife would tell you that way, like, oh my gosh, this is something I've always wanted,
Yeah.
and you did it. And that somebody says I don't think they presented it well. Like, hey, he got her something she wanted, not, hey, before you start losing it, you better hop on that bike.
The way I would have done the commercial if I was directing it is I would have had it to where a couple months leading up to Christmas, she had like left a Peloton book open where he gets shaves or something, or
Right.
like just these little hints around the house, and all of a sudden she opens up a
There was
Peloton.
another one that did that in that way where like he got her the Peloton or one of those bikes and had it hiding and she found it. And so every day she's out there using it. And then Christmas morning, she's all like, what? And that one was done right because you're like, okay, this lady got something she really, really wanted. So nonetheless, back to our point, and that kind of goes into it is like the way we've commercialized Christmas with commercials, we've changed how we, I think, view Christmas at all. And then we talked about the fact that I have a friend who, if he could, he would probably leave Christmas decorations up year round because he just loves the sense of Christmas. But I don't always love going in the middle of October and already finding all the Christmas stuff out.
Oh, dude, October. I think you're late to the ball game on that. I think it's being pushed on us really early. And I love guys like your buddy that loves the spirit of Christmas because in reality, you feel good around Christmas, and I'm from the Midwest where there'll be snow on the ground. It gets dark a little bit earlier. You have that Christmas feel, you curl up around the fire and the stockings are hanging and from the fireplace and all that good stuff. Here, it's a little tough when it's 80 degrees and, you're celebrating Christmas. But even around Christmas, the malls are crazier. The stores are crazier. People are crazier on the roads. People are stressed. People have anxiety. It's not a better time for everybody. Some people might be thinking about their families they can't visit. I don't know. I wish there was more people with a spirit like your buddy.
Right.
Because I do think the spirit of Christmas does bring out the best in people, but I just don't know if I've seen it that way in a long time.
Yeah, I think you can find those pockets like that, but for the most part, you do kind of almost dread it. Like, oh boy, here we come, and you just want it to be over. We do not decorate the house. There is no Christmas tree up. We decided that we were getting our boys stuff, and within a week they either had it broke or they didn't want anymore. So we don't decorate at all, and we travel. So this year we're going up to South Bend, Indiana to see my wife's family, but we're not going for that. We're going to travel. Last year we went to Washington, D.C., and we got to see the national Christmas tree and got to see our nation's capital all dressed up. So we've kind of decided every year we're going to pick a destination and we're going to travel as our gift to our family.
Yeah.
Just because I got tired of spending a week decorating the house and then another week taking it all down. I lost all the joy for doing it. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to my trip and not having to decorate the house.
Yeah. So my house is pretty well decorated. My wife has 5 or 6 trees around the house and a big one in the living room. And, our banisters are covered with garland and lights, and we have wreaths and stuff. And I do like that feel.
Yeah.
She doesn't ask me to help, so I like it even more.
I was going to say, there's why you like it.
But, no, and this is unfortunate because I didn't decorate my yard. I usually do it up pretty good, but this is the first year that I just don't have the gumption to do it or the want to do it. So it's just going to be plain. And I don't know if you saw my Facebook post, but my neighbor had really decked his out so my kids can just look out the window and see all the Christmas lights.
That's what I go, listen, guys, why do you want to see ours every day? Let's go look at other people's stuff.
Yeah.
Well, just, I guess, Josh and I will find a way to be happy at Christmas, but I do.
Well, I'll be happy. I don't want to.
Well, no, you're not happy, but
Grinch.
we kind of had this discussion about how, is it just what we talked about? Have we so sort of have we lost some of the magic of it because we end up to me that used to be the magical thing that everybody did the day after Thanksgiving, or sometimes Thanksgiving night. That's when you decorated. You pulled it all out, and I used to videotape it. So when my older kids, and I've got adult children, when they were little bitty, I have tapes of them as we decorated our little apartment that we had because it was such a big deal. And over time, I kind of lost. I quit doing that, and then it was just like, hey, you just got to get this stuff up. And I think that kind of came from the fact that more and more people were kind of pushing Christmas earlier and earlier. I just felt like I should why take it down?
Yeah.
Just leave it up year round. All right. Well, as we go in, I said we're going to introduce a new segment, and that is something we're going to do. So every Wednesday, my friend Josh does a video segment called Wednesday Wisdom with Josh.
Mm-hmm. Very impactful.
Very impactful. It received rave reviews, probably some nominations for the editing and the directing of it. I don't know so much about the acting in it, but
the 6 people that saw it last week they enjoyed it.
They did.
They enjoyed it,
and we get stopped on the street all the time and telling us to get out of people's way. But anyway, we do a Wednesday Wisdom with Josh, and so what we're going to do going forward is we're always going to kind of pop that in at this segment, and that's going to be our main real estate talk. So I'm going to be quiet, and I'm going to let you watch Wednesday Wisdom with Josh.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of Wednesday Wisdom with Josh. We are sponsored today by Houston's Home Connection Team, Lake Houston's go-to real estate team. On today's episode, I'm going to cover 4 steps a buyer can take if a problem is found on the home inspection. Step 1, ask for repairs. One of the primary ways of handling issues on the inspection report is to ask the seller to pay for the repairs in order for the sale to proceed. Alternatively, the repairs can be a point of negotiation against the price of the home. Step 2, do a re-inspection. If the seller does complete the requested repairs, it's important to have an inspector come back out to the house to make sure the repairs were completed correctly. Step 3, ask for closing credits. If the seller does not want to mess with the repairs, the buyer can ask for a credit to be issued on the closing statement, either to help with the reduction in sales price or the closing costs. Step 4, walk away. The seller does not have to complete any repairs. That is their option. Most want to do the right thing and fix repairs or give a credit. However, if the seller does not want to complete any repairs, make sure your agent has the contingency in place for you, the buyer, to be able to walk away from the deal and get your earnest money back. As always, the Houston's Home Connection team can help lead you down the right path when buying or selling a home. For any buying or selling needs, contact us at our website, www.hhct.kw.com, or email us at justask@houstonshomeconnection.com.
homeconnection.com. That's all for today. See you next Wednesday for another episode of Wednesday Wisdom with Josh. Take care.
All right, so if you'd like to catch more Wednesday Wisdom with Josh, be sure and like our Facebook page, Houston's Home Connection Team, and those come out every Wednesday, oddly enough, since it's Wednesday Wisdom. At what time do they drop? 9?
10 a.m. every
10.
Wednesday. You can get it on our Facebook page, which is Houston's Home Connection Team, or you can go to our YouTube page, which is Houston's Home Connection Team. They'll be all popped over, and we'll obviously share them to our personal pages as well.
All right, so let's get right into it. Repairs. Give me where that came from, and let's just kind of dig into that deeper than the 2-minute video.
Yeah, so it was what to do if repairs come about on the inspection report, not necessarily diving into the repairs, but
Right.
so there's 4 main steps that can really go on when somebody finds some problems on the inspection report. I always tell my clients we got 2 negotiation times. We got one when we're putting in the offer, and then we have another one when we have the inspection report come back. Because frankly, there's 4 things that you can do. You can ask the seller to fix them. Then you can get it re-inspected to make sure the seller did fix them. You can negotiate for closing cost help instead of fixing repairs or price reduction on the sale of the home. Or you and the seller can walk away.
Right.
And as I mentioned in the Wednesday Wisdom with Josh, is I believe most sellers want to do the right thing because, their house is for sale. They want to sell it. But I've also seen it to where, I've had clients, and I know I've heard of many clients who really ask for everything in the world to be fixed on the home. And that's not the intent of the inspection report.
Right, exactly.
So going along with that, the first step is asking for the repairs. And that's where it could be a sticky situation. I like to kind of guide my buyers before going in. And they're allowed to ask for anything under the sun that they want. But I want them to go, okay, look, we walked in the house. We've seen every nook and cranny of the house. Now let's let our inspector do his due diligence and see the report, and then let's ask for stuff that we haven't seen. Because we put an offer on a house that we saw, the cosmetics of it. You accepted it as that condition. Now we're going to base what's behind the walls, in the attic, stuff like that.
Right.
So that's what I try to focus on as the main mechanicals, the HVAC, the electrical, the plumbing, certain things that we can't see, that we don't know the inner workings of, to make sure those things are working fine.
Okay. So, I'm kind of a listing heavy realtor. I tend to be more on the listing side than the buyer side. And, from that perspective, I understand we're going to get a report back. When I get those ones where they hand me, go, well, here's what he said, fix it all. Man, you're just like, oh, come on. That's not practical. I mean, that's not you. It's like if you were going to buy a used car from your neighbor and you had a mechanic friend, you would take it down and say, hey, look this over and tell me what you think. And if he said, well, the muffler's bad, you might go back to your neighbor and say, hey, I'll buy it if you replace the muffler. Mm-hmm. And if your neighbor goes, no, well, then it's up to you. Do you want the car and know you're going to have to replace the muffler, or do you want to walk away? That's what that all is about. It's just to say, I know I'm buying a used thing. What's wrong with it? And oh, by the way, would you do some things? And it's a hard start to that whole deal. And they walk in and go, we want everything.
Yes.
So, that's a good thing that Josh does. And I do too. Trust me, I have buyers. And since I do a lot of listings, I say, here's what would happen if I had this listing. Here's what I would hope to hear. And we talk through, the things. But I never tell them what to pick. If they want everything from that deal, I'll present the offer. I'll say they want all this fixed. It'll be what it'll be. But I think if you go into it with a healthy attitude of, hey, what are some things? It needs a new roof. I don't think I think it's either you say, can we reduce the price, or would you replace the roof? I don't think it's out of the question to say that.
Yeah.
But if you're going like, hey, there's some cracks off the corners, fix that. That's just natural wear. I mean, they have to report it, but how do you fix that? It's concrete that was poured 10 years ago. I don't know how to fix that.
Yeah, I've had it to where, and I don't want to get down this rabbit hole because we could go.
Yeah, you're right.
But when you went back to the roof, I've had it to where there was 4 nails that were not fully pounded down on the roof. You know what I mean? And that was a request. And so let's pop over step 2 and go to step 3. Step 2 is pretty self-explanatory. So step 3 is the negotiation for closing costs or reduction in sale of price. I see that happening more and more each day, that the sellers don't want to mess with any repairs because me and you have talked about it 100 times. The seller who they hire or what they do to fix it may not be exactly how the buyer wants it, and then you got another fit going on.
Right.
So to some of my sellers, I'm like, what's it worth to you to get rid of this house that you want to sell, dropping $1,000 off the price of the home or giving them some closing cost help, what have you? That's almost a better way to go.
I totally agree. I would either coming back, so here in Texas, we have a 10-day option period, and this is usually where that happens. They get the house inspected, and then their request for repairs is going to come inside that 10 days because at the end of that option period, the buyer has the right to just say, I don't want the house anymore and walk away. So this is where there's negotiating power. And man, one is I hate when somebody doesn't talk to you and you're on the last day and it ends at 5:00 and you're just, and all you're hoping for. And at 5:01, I'm like, okay, we made it. They didn't want anything, but I would just much rather us talk about it and say, hey, nothing's coming. We're good.
Yep.
I don't know why they won't do that. But at the same time, I would much rather get somewhere in there, say 3-4 days before it was over and go, here's what the deal is. Here's what their concerns are. See, I think if you put the concerns are these things, the seller then has the ability to look and go, well, based on those things and what I don't want to do and whatever, what if we offer them $6,000 in closing costs, or what if we offer them to lower the price by $5,000? And I think that becomes a much easier negotiation as long as everybody's on board, because because as the seller, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to reach out and go, hey, who's the cheapest handyman that'll fix this?
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. And then the buyer's going to go, well, this looks like crap. Well, because they got the cheapest handyman they could get to fix it.
Well, mind you, just recently in the last couple of years, did Texas pass it to where the mechanicals actually had to be fixed now by a licensed contractor. Now, if you didn't put that on your amendment that a licensed contractor had to do the repairs, that homeowner could have went and did everything on their own.
True, but what I'm saying is, I know. Listen, you and I both know, it's sort of like inspections in Texas. I've driven behind cars going, how'd that pass inspection?
No, I know.
So you've got a licensed guy. So yeah, I got a license.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's going to be quality.
No. The quality and the license, obviously, that's two different things.
So anyway, that's my point. It's like, I think you're better off taking all of the guesswork out, because you could hire. Listen, I mean, how many times have somebody hired somebody who was a highly respected, highly thought of deal, and when you get done, you're like, that still looks like crap.
Yeah.
Just because they're licensed and because they're actually good doesn't mean they're going to do it to the buyer's spec. I'd rather say, listen, let's figure this out. You hire the person you trust the most. You deal with that because then you fixed it.
Yep.
So,
all right. And the last step is to walk away. And I don't think anybody wants to do this, but it has happened. I've never had it happen. We've always came to an agreement somehow or another. Sometimes one or the other party isn't exactly ecstatic, but there is an agreement that came about. But the seller does have the option to not fix anything. That's just
right.
They don't have to do anything.
See, and that's where people get confused. They're like, oh, I gave it. Here's this report. And guess what? Now they have to fix everything and they can't sell their house. That's not true.
Yes.
That's the fallacy that gets a lot of buyers thinking I've got them over a barrel. I've shown them all these things. Legally, they have no choice but to fix it. That part is not true.
And that's not true. They do have to now exploit that inspection report to another buyer coming about, but that doesn't mean that they have to fix anything for that buyer. Right.
They can say, look here, somebody else just paid for the inspection report. Here it is. We're not fixing any of this stuff. So the next buyer could go, we're good with all that.
Yep.
So, you can walk away, but you also probably just helped a lot of people in the process.
Yeah, and there's a good possibility that, you're not out a lot of money unless you did put quite a bit of not earnest money, but option money down.
Right.
So, and you better hope that your agent, that's why you hire HHCT, Houston's Home Connection Team,
Nice plug.
has got the contingency plan in place to get your earnest money back. Because if that clause is not in there, you could be out thousands of dollars.
Yep.
So that settles that. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory in the 4 steps, but just be known when you enter that inspection report, the seller does not have to fix anything.
And I would say that if the best clients, Josh and I have talked about, the best clients either one are people who are willing to trust us and say, hey, I'm not so tied to this. In other words, when you tell me up front what your level is, it's, hey, if they're not going to do it, I can walk. Then I know the power I have to negotiate. If you're going to waffle or you're going to do whatever, so just make sure your agent knows exactly where you stand. Like, hey, it's not a deal killer if they don't do it.
Yeah.
Then I know how to negotiate. Or it's a deal killer if they don't. I negotiate totally different, but I need to know those things going into it.
Yep. Nope. Okay, folks, I think that's going to wrap us up for episode number 21 on the Random Real Estate Show. So thanks for joining us this week on the Random Real Estate Show. You can find more of our podcast on our YouTube page and Facebook page, both under the name Houston's Home Connection Team. We are also on iTunes, which is Apple Music, so you never miss a show. While you're at it, if you find value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you feel like if you would like to speak with us about any real estate items, feel free to contact us at justask@houstonshomeconnection.com. As always, go out and laugh today.